people, welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Jen, where I'm speaking to people impacted by sickle cell so that I can educate you guys and raise awareness of the condition. Today's guest is someone who I go way back with. So please, my guest, introduce yourself to the people, let them know who you are and what you do.
Hi everybody, my name's Kehinde, but people call me Kenny. I'm a sickle cell advocate, patient, and I also run 2 charitable organisations that raise awareness for sickle cell patients, support sickle cell patients, and able to basically mentor young sickle cell patients that are having sickle cell crisis or having their own experience with sickle cell disease.
Amazing. So, I bring you guys the good stuff, So, I know that I know just bits and bobs of your journey just from like us crossing paths, us speaking and, being in touch and whatever. But I really want to know like your journey with sickle cell. So start off by telling me your status, if you're SSSC or whatever, and then talk to me about like baby you. Did you know from birth? Did you find out later on? Like bring us back.
Okay, well, I have sickle cell SC. It's a unique story because I did not know I had sickle cell until I was like early 20s.
Okay.
So even though there was an inkling that that I had something that was not normal kids had, like there were times where I would struggle to get up in the morning, or when it comes to physical activity, I would get tired more than everybody else. And I used to think that, is there something that's going on? And then my parents would just gaslight me saying, well, it's just growing pains, you're just growing, you're going to get better, this and that. So it wasn't until I was in university that, but there was one day actually I woke up with intense pain, as in stomach pain, like someone was stabbing me in my stomach, like intensely. And I couldn't move, I couldn't walk. So I crawled to my my roommate's room and I knocked on his door and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And he's like, are you on drugs? I'm like, I don't take drugs. So he was like,
why would drugs be the first? Like,
yeah. Is it alcohol?
But I guess when you're in shock, you don't know, innit?
Yeah. So he's like, is it alcohol? And I'm like, I don't drink. What's going on? So he's like, oh my goodness, there's a medical centre there. So he basically carried me to the medical centre because I couldn't walk, and he was pretty burly. So he carried me. He said, okay, I got to go back to uni, so he left me there. I was speaking to the doctor and he asked me the same questions. Are you on any substances? Is it alcohol? Or do you drink? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't do drugs or drink. I'm in so much pain, as in, take me to a hospital.
Yeah.
So he said, before we take you to hospital, we're going to have to do some tests. So he was asking me questions, my medical history, da. And back then I didn't know about sickle cell. So
okay.
I'm like, the only thing I heard about sickle cell was in a Tupac song, Hit 'Em Up. Them customers.
Don't want you motherfuckers something like that. Yeah.
So I'm like,
so mean Tupac, because I really love Tupac, but I don't rate that.
That was horrible. So I'm like, he was asking about sickle cell. I'm like, what is sickle cell? He's like, oh, you don't have sickle cell if you don't know about it. Then I'm like, okay, cool. So they did blood tests, and then as soon as the blood test, he said, oh, you got cancer.
Are you being serious?
Yeah, he said you got cancer. These are cancerous cells in your stomach. Basically, they can originate from your stomach. You might have some kind of He said I had cancer first. The blood tests say that you have cancer. And I'm like, okay.
Don't they have to like prepare people to give them that kind of diagnosis?
Well, that's what he said. As in, I had to wait about an hour to tell me that I have progressive cancer. That if I don't do something here, it's going to be a threat to my life. So I'm like, oh my goodness.
I'm dying. Like, this is it.
So he's like, okay, you know what? Come back in a week's time. We will give you the full diagnosis. So I'm like, but you're not going to give me anything now? Am I going to go to the hospital? He goes, you'll be fine. We'll give you some painkillers. Go back home and then come back in a week's time. We'll call you in a week's time. So when I came back in a week, and I'm like, with me, I like to use Dr. Google. So this is like, 20 years ago when the internet wasn't as good as it is now. So I'm Googling everything and they're giving me the worst case scenario. So I'm like, I need to call my family to say I've only got days to live. So
This is crazy.
So I'm going back to the medical centre, hoping to fear the worst. And he goes, well, there's good news, it's not cancer. I'm like, yes. He goes, but however, it's a condition called sickle cell disease. So I'm like, what is sickle cell? What do you mean by sickle cell? I've heard about people with sickle cell normally on their deathbeds, does that mean I've got months to live? And he's like, no, as in you've got a genetic disease that's basically passed on from both parents, and it's something that you've had since birth. I'm like, if I had it since birth, then why is it only affecting me now? And he was like, it's affected you before, but you did not know what it was. So I'm like, okay. So he's like, come back another week and we will basically give you the medication, what you need to do. So I came back in a week, but me, I'm very proactive with my things. So I was researching sickle cell. I knew that there was about 3 or 4 types that was well known then. So a week later, I came back to the doctor ready and primed. I'm like, what type of sickle cell do I have? What kind of
You knew the right questions to ask and everything.
And he just said that you have sickle cell. I'm like, but what type of sickle cell do I have? He's like, you have sickle cell. And I'm like, but there's different types. He's like, yeah, you have sickle cell. So I'm like, okay. So for me knowing, doing a little research, about a week's research, I know more than him. So I'm like, this is not right.
Where was this, by the way?
Manchester. I was in Manchester.
Oh, okay.
So this is before I moved back to London. So I'm there, I'm thinking, okay, so it takes me a week to know more than the doctor. This is not right. So he referred me to another specialist. They were really good, actually, specialists. It's only when I went to hospital that they didn't have a clue.
Okay.
The specialist gave me on medication. I had to fill in a what's it thing for work? One of them.
Capacity. No.
Yeah, capacity.
Like what you can do, kind of thing.
Yeah, for work, and it came to a point where work were not filling their roles. As in, whenever I had sickle cell crisis episodes, it was so destructive. They came to the point that they said to me that if you're sick, you have to physically come in and give us the sick note so we know that you're sick. So I'm like,
what?
So even though you've got my capability report in regards to access to work, when I have a sickle cell crisis, I'm the only person that has to do this. Other people, when they're sick, they can just
call up or whatever.
They can just post in a sick note, but I have to physically hand in the sick note. So I'm like, this is not right. So I accuse them of racism. I'm like, this is racism, as in, just because you don't know about sickle cell, you've got all my capability report, you've got everything from the doctors and nurses, but you don't believe that this is in the winter months, and in Manchester it's really cold, as in raining, snow,
just
everything. So it came to the point that I was like, I had to walk, like, whenever I walk in the crisis, like I'm walking on glass. So I'm hobbling to work, humiliating myself, thinking that these people have to see me when I'm at my weakness. To give I did it once. I'm not doing it again. And it came to a point that they basically said that I had to go to. They're gonna sack me because of my condition. That brought another set of issues where I had to go through. When you have a union rep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you take it further and?
Yeah, but the union rep was working for them. So even though he was advising me, he was doing it. He was slyly working on their behalf. So when it came to filling the electronic tribunal form, he told me to fill in 2 days late. So when I went to court, they said that you are perfectly right in what you're saying. As in, however, if you put the form on time, you would have got the full reward. So I went to the tribunal against their top class lawyers, me representing myself, me pleading my case. I was in my element. I thought I was Aaron Brockovich. Saying this, that had all these sections.
I object.
Yes, and that's not correct, because in my finger report it said that they're responsible for this. If this happens to me, this happens here. This is what they're supposed to do, and they didn't do it. So I'm owed this X amount. And the judge was like, we recommend you, as in this is the way you represent yourself was just amazing. However,
it was late
due to the fact that you handed.
But that the judge could have at their discretion.
Yeah, he could have, but he just said that.
Things,
yeah, so that was my first 2 years of the condition. I had to go through all that.
Do you think that? So, let me get this straight. You found out when you was in your 20s at uni. From the moment you found out, after that point, was it just like all of a sudden it just kept getting unwell, or?
It was a case where I was more aware, because there were times where I would do things, like for example, Manchester, I will go out without a coat, or I'll go raving, and then it will take me 2 or 3 days to recover. But I'm thinking, it's like normal people, maybe I should wear a jacket. But there were times where I was rebellious, as in, I'm not going to wear a jacket, that's unmanly. Just go when it's cold, windy, just wear your shirt.
And also, I guess if you didn't know it was sickle cell at that time, you won't be thinking like, oh, it's because I didn't wear the jacket or stuff.
Back then I was really aware, I started getting aware of my triggers. I'm like, oh my goodness. As in, there's times where I'd even go swimming and I wouldn't dry myself off, and then I'll be shivering really violently, and I'm thinking, it'll be fine, man. At the end of the day, don't pay attention to it. And then when I finally got diagnosed, it was like, I think it made things even more intense for me because I got paranoid, like, if I don't take care of this, it's going to make it worse.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to go to hospital, and I don't like the hospitals. That's going to make it even worse. So the first sign, you've got to make sure that you're fine. But one thing about being aware is like you get more paranoid, as in you're more, I don't know, you turn into a hypochondriac. So I was like, oh my goodness, sickle cell this. So I would call the hospital. Even though I was in pain, I was second guessing myself, like, no. And then I wouldn't go to hospital. Even though I said I was going to hospital, I wouldn't go to hospital because I'm like, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just me doing this, and then I'll be even more sick. So it was like, I was fighting two versions of myself. The old version of me that's like, you know what, I can handle it. And the new version that had all this wealth of knowledge, but you're thinking, maybe it's just normal what normal people go through. And then plus I was getting bad service. As soon as I basically got diagnosed, I was in Manchester, and they had the crappest when it comes to sickle cell, as in they didn't know how to treat me. I was in A&E for X amount. And then it wasn't until I moved into London that I was like, oh my goodness, as in the care is so much better compared to Manchester, because I had a hematologist when I went to London.
Right.
I had checkups every month, as in my blood levels.
So at this time in Manchester, there was no like specialised unit, I guess, no haematologist, no...
They would see me every like 6 months, basically, as in, 6 months time, we'll see what we can do for you. We're going to give you these medications for now. And the medication they were giving me was the bare minimum, like paracetamol, folic acid. They wouldn't even be giving me penicillin, as in folic acid. This is what you got to do. When you're in pain, go to the hospital. So it was like, I thought it was just normal care until I came to London, even though London is still not where it needs to be. It's not
there, but it's a lot better than...
But yeah, it was as in I got very attentive, as in they would give me regular repeat prescriptions, and then because that's when I started ramping up my advocacy, because I started having insecurities about my health, basically, when it comes to, like, you know, black men, we're basically where the pillar of health, we need to be strong, we need to be that.
Yes,
and then I'm having this condition that's constantly battering me down. I'm like,
I need to do something.
I need to put a big face, you know.
Before I go, because I want to get into like your advocacy journey and stuff. Before I go into that, I may have two questions, but I definitely have one.
Good.
At the point when you found out, okay, I'm this age, I had sickle cell, I was born with it, the doctor's like, well, you would have known, but you just didn't. Did you not have a conversation with your family, siblings? How did that go? Okay,
it was a very, very rough conversation, especially with my dad, because my dad had sickle cell disease. So
full-blown disease?
He has full-blown. And
you've never seen your dad unwell? Have you ever seen your dad unwell?
My dad is very lucky because he does what you do. As soon as he has a crisis, he goes to Nigeria. And he just chills there until he's better.
Hey,
and then he comes back.
Fly to the heat.
Exactly.
Come back.
He's like, he's the type of person like, just persevere, just do it. And I'm like, but whenever you're sick, you go to Nigeria. You don't take me with you. I'm here suffering. I'm in Manchester. So it came to the point where I didn't speak to my dad for about 5 years from when I found out, because it wasn't just my life he put in danger. He put my little sister, as in my baby sister, she has sickle cell as well. So it was a case where he didn't let me know, and I wasn't there for my sister as well. So she's in that hospital. I'm speaking to him, and I'm like, oh, I've got sickle cell disease. And he goes, oh, I know. I'm like, what do you mean you know? He's like, yeah, we knew when you was a baby in Nigeria. They called you, there was Obeya, which means the cursed children in Nigeria.
I've heard that before.
And he said that we just didn't want you to have this chip on your shoulder. But I'm like, but hang on a minute. So you knew I had sickle cell from Nigeria, but yet I'm in a different country where it's cold. I could have been on medication, you know. I could have died at any moment of a sickle cell crisis episode. That's negligent from you. You're my parents. You're supposed to let me know so that I can at least...
Do you think their reason for doing that is, I get like he's saying, it's chip on your shoulder, like almost like if you knew, you know, all the things that you were saying you was battling with yourself, like this is the old me, this is the new me. Can I handle it? Do I need to go to the hospital? Do you think that's what they wanted you to get to a point where it was just like, I am okay, I can manage this and not feel...
No. I think it was, for me, I took it as an effect that he was worried of what other people would say. Like, if I was to talk about my sickle cell, it would be a case of a stigma against the whole family, because it's not just me, he has it, and my other sister has it. And I just felt as if that is selfish, because you put me at risk to the point where I'm finding out I had sickle cell in my early 20s, as in, I could have had such a serious crisis episode that I could have died.
Fatal, yeah, and you would have had no idea.
At any point. So I'm like, I didn't speak to him for about 5 years. My mum was trying to make conversation with me. I was like, nope, you was part of it as well. So I was really headstrong, saying that these people wanted me to die,
I hear that.
basically. So it was a case where I was in Manchester by myself, and it was very hard at the fact that I had to find it this way, because from when I find out, it's something that is born, you're born with. It's not something that you get or you can catch. It's something that you're born with. I felt so betrayed. And it was a case where, you know, your dad is supposed to be your protector. As it's supposed to be the person that's supposed to be guiding you through life. And the fact that I had to find out, and it kind of really took its toll on me, to the point where I was like, I don't have parents. As in, I'm not going back to London. I'm not doing that. I'm not picking up their calls. But it was really hard, because I missed the first 9 years of my sister's life, my younger sister's life.
Right.
So, you know...
Did she struggle a lot with, like, does she have the same SC, or is it SS?
She has, my younger sister has SS. I have SC. So she was
hers worse than yours, like, as a child? Cause
yeah, when she when I first found out is when she was little. She was in that hospital, so I didn't even not know. They didn't call me. They didn't let me know.
And obviously you was at uni in Manchester. You're just thinking like, fam's good.
This is before I knew. Before I knew, she was going through hospital stuff, and they didn't tell me. They didn't let me know at all. It's only when I found out and I was asking, they're like, oh yeah, your little sister has it as well. So I'm like,
crazy.
That's when I was like, you know what, these people are evil.
Imagine.
I'm not speaking to them. And it took for my little sister to give me a call. She's like, Kenny, I don't know you. Can you come home? I was like, okay. I need to come.
Sometimes it takes someone to break the ice.
Yeah, so it was my little baby sister that just like, so I'm like, okay, let me.
Pulled on the heartstrings.
Yeah, so I'm like, you know, let me come. And then it was like, she was, even though she didn't know much of me, she was like so loving, my little sister.
It's that thing, innit? Like having an older sibling, like a bigger sister, bigger brother, that comes with its own like expectations or titles anyway.
Yeah.
So even if I don't know you, you're older than me, you're bigger than me, your brother, it's like.
So when I first met her, like, you know, she just came up from Nigeria, she had a Nigerian accent. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's got an accent, I don't have you. So it was like, it was heartwarming, and then I used to give her advice, and it was like we were so close to the point. And then I just decided, then when my son was, when I found out I was having my first, I said, you know, I got me back to London, and it kind of reinforced the fact that even though I was angry at my parents, there's other people involved, because I've got two younger sisters, and I regretted the choice that I made, but I knew that I couldn't forgive my parents if it wasn't for her reaching out to me. And this is when she was about, what, 5 or 6? She was about 4 or 5. She somehow got my number from my parents' phone, gave me a call, and I'm like, okay, you know what, I've got to go. So that's when I went.
Nice.
I went to, and it was like a beautiful moment, because when I'm seeing her, and she was just loving, open arms, and I'm like,
this is what I've been missing out on.
Yes.
Sometimes we have to, you know, not forget, and I know things are hurtful, but just kind of forgive and move.
I'm not going to lie, I just felt as if someone tore part of my heart away, because these are your parents. Yeah. And they knew something and they kept it from me. And there was times where basically I had issues at school as well, as in there were times that PE class, you know, you do your drills and all that stuff. I would black out, head hit the floor, and I won't wake up for another 5 minutes. When I wake up, the gym instructor's like, what is going on? I'm like, I don't know. And he's panicking, and I'm at home, and my parents are, don't worry about it. You know, it's
growing pains.
Nothing. And then there was a time when I was sick, I had fever, and I couldn't go play outside. And everybody at the block thought I had a curse on me. So it was crazy. Yeah, they said, don't go there, he's got a curse. When I went to his house, I saw him burning up. His skin was like and it was shaking violently. And it was like, I had to go through so much. And they knew. And it was like, you know, when you bring about the repressed memories.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, this is
Everything
what
just
happened.
suddenly starts to make sense.
Yeah. So I'm like, no, I can't speak to them. No way. This is what happened. And I asked them every single time that I was sick. They was like, well, we kind of figured it was just sickle cell, but we didn't think it kind of put you in jeopardy. Oh, anyway.
Do you think that's down to like a lack of, like, for them, understanding or education, where like they didn't know how serious it actually could have been?
The issues that my dad had before he was going to and from Nigeria should have let them know that it's going to be worse for me because I'm just a little child with it. And I remember that my dad having issues. I've got the same issue that my dad had with his eye. Like, he had to have an operation with his eye. His eye wasn't the same again. And, you know, these other issues where he had problems with his hips. His fatigue levels were really high. So I just felt as if...
But does your dad know that that's attributed to sickle cell?
I think he did, because he knew that there's certain limitations with sickle cell. Even though the knowledge wasn't that good in Nigeria,
they still know.
He knew a bit about how it affected him, and he was able to manage it. And he didn't then install that into me.
Yeah, like pass that on.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, like, because you've mentioned eyes and, you know, some issues that your dads have. What kind of, I guess, complications then have you had? I can't even say what did you have. I'm guessing you didn't have any serious ones as a child, because you probably didn't know. But now in your adult years, like, what complications have you experienced?
Okay, I want to keep it PG rated, because there's certain things that...
No, but if it's not, I want to ask you about the non-PG one anyway, because I ask every man that I have on conversations with Jen, if they have experienced it, would they share? Okay. But let's go through the PG ones first.
If I can say that, I can talk about...
You can.
Issues with my sickle cell, like, for example, I've got my eye. It goes to that, like, if I was to close them up, this goes to the middle.
Okay.
Of my eye, goes to that side.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So it's something that I'm very self-conscious about, very self-conscious. When it comes to interviews like this, as in people say they don't hardly notice until I tell them.
I didn't notice that.
And that's mainly because I had a sickle cell crisis in my eye that ruptured it, as in blood.
When you say crisis, like your eye hurt?
No, basically I had a blood clot.
Oh, okay.
That burst, and then I was blind.
Did you know what was happening at the time?
I didn't know, because I woke up, I couldn't see anything, and then
you went to sleep fine.
Woke up, I couldn't see anything in the eye. So, but then all I could see was cracks. So it was like basically black with white cracks. So I thought I had eyelashes in my eye. So I'm trying to my eyelash, like, what's going on? So I'm like trying.
That's not funny.
I'm pulling my eyelashes out, saying what is going on, and then I'm like, this is not working. So what is going on? And I can see it's black here with cracks. So it's like glass here. You know when glass...
Like shatters almost.
Yeah, but it's black but with white streaks. It wasn't white with black streaks. It was just black, as in I can only see little bits of light. So I'm like, what is going on here? So I went to the doctors and they said I had something about retinopathy or whatever, something like that. And I had an operation. You guys want to hear?
You went to the doctors?
Yes.
As in your hematologist team or just GP? Okay.
I went to A&E because actually before I came to that point, what happened was that I had a sickle cell crisis and this, and I couldn't see. And then this is how I created a charity, by the way. Came to a point where I had my painkillers, I had basically water, and I had scissors. So it came to a point where I'm like, you know what, I'm in pain, I can't see, is life worth living? So basically I had a choice whether to take the overdose, as in because I knew the regular dose that I could take, but I thought, you know what, I'm just going to overdose because there's no point, because I can't do anything. As you know, I can't see, I'm in pain, don't know what to do, so I'm like, I want to take this. And then I think I got a text on the children's mum saying that your angel wants to speak to you or your kids. And that just put the light bulb in me, like, you know what, you can't, you've got your kids,
got a reason to live.
You got your little sister to live for. And that's when it put the spark in me that there must be other things that I can do. Instead of getting angry or vexed, channel that energy into putting your story out there. So I did that. But in the meantime, I went to the hospital and they said, we're gonna have to have an operation that basically drains it out, because I still couldn't see. There was still blood there, that dry blood that was stopping me from seeing. So during the procedure, because what he did was he basically gave me painkillers, but basically the painkillers ran out halfway through the surgery. So he was cutting bits out of my eye
You can feel
without
it.
no painkiller, and I was awake as well. So I could see him cutting bits out of my eye, and I'm like, I can feel this, and it really hurts. He's like, I'm sorry, but I can't give you any more painkillers. So I'm hearing the snipping. I'm seeing the snipping because he had it on the screen. So I'm seeing him cut chunks out of my eye, and they had my eye up like that, so I couldn't close. So I'm in pain, I'm screaming. And the guy's like, don't worry, another 5 minutes. It took him another 45 minutes to complete the procedure. So I'm there, I'm in pain. He's giving me some little tiny paracetamol at the end of the surgery saying, you gotta take this for the next week or so, blah, 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 you should be fine. When I get back to my hematologist, he goes, first of all, you should have had a blood transfusion before and then.
Beforehand, yeah.
Okay. Second of all, they could have given you, what's it called? They could have given you anesthesia or gas or something like that to knock you out. You shouldn't have
Been awake.
You shouldn't have been awake. And third of all, when you was basically feeling it, you shouldn't have continued, basically. So he was negligent. But the worst part of that, this is the same doctor guy that I see every year about my eye. And I'm looking at him like, this, I can't swear. this.
Can we do beep? I don't know.
This is the same guy that effed me up, but yet I have to go see him every year about my eye.
Do you know what? This is the thing that really pisses me off, yeah. And I think this is the one side of sickle cell where I don't even feel like they consider this, because it's one thing to have to go through what we go through and deal with that, but the trauma and toxicity that we are exposed to, of like, if someone disrespects you or does something to you that you don't like, you can choose to not have to speak to them, see them again, cut them off, whatever you're going to do. In sickle cell and what we have to go through, there's always one hematologist, one person that does this. So you can disrespect me, almost kill me, have me flat, like anything, but I still have to come back to you for assistance and help.
Yeah.
Do you know how
Yeah. I even said it to my hematologist that the same guy that's caused me all this stuff in my eye is telling me that he can't, there's nothing that more they can do to my eye, as in I've got a, I don't know, slightly detached retina, and I have no choice but to see him because he's the only one that's qualified enough. And then I have to now pretend that, oh, okay, cool. I can't be angry with him.
No,
that's what they say.
You be angry, and then you'll be angry.
But they said that when you signed the thingy at before you had the operation, you was agreeing that there's going to be certain side effects to the thing, so there's nothing you can do. So I'm like, okay, cool. So
did you know at the time when, you woke up, you couldn't see, you was faced with that choice, and thankfully didn't make that decision. Did you know that was something that could happen as a result of having sickle cell?
I did not know, no, not at all. It was. I kind of thought it was either the chest crisis when they want to get me, or I just won't wake up. Basically, one day I just thought I won't wake up, or breathing. That day, because it was so painful, as in it was like someone was clamping my eye, and it was like, yeah, just opening, closing it, and yeah, it was very painful. As in, I think it's the worst pain I've ever experienced, besides the acute chest syndrome, and I wasn't prepared for it because you don't know that you don't think it's gonna affect your eye. You think everything else is gonna affect, but not your eye.
Because we forget eyes are organs as well. Like
yeah, so
it's crazy.
Yeah, after that, and then like I said, I got still see that guy every year about my eye, and then the worst part was the consultation I had, I think a month ago. Because when you go for these eye test things, you gotta wait 3 hours, for them to get through everybody, and then when I see him, 5 minutes. He only takes 5 minutes looking into my eye. Oh, by the way, come back in 6 months. Come back in this, and I'm like, look, hold a minute.
Like what?
It's been 5 years now since the operation. You keep telling me to come back every year. I'm not having it. What are you going to do now? He then basically checked. He said that, I'm like, can you fix this? He goes, there's nothing else we can do. But however, what we can do, basically, I said to him that I have double vision now, basically. So I can't drive because of this. And basically, I see two of you now. So I see one part of you here and one part of you here. And the issue that I've got here is that in my normal eye, I've got normal vision. In this eye, I've got binocular vision. So it's like that. Two images trying to compete with each other. and it's giving me
Your
intense
head,
headaches.
I was going to say that must give you bad headaches.
It's giving me bad headaches. What can you do about it? And he was about to say, come back. I'm like, no.
Not having it.
I'm not having it 6 months. So he said he's going to refer me to a specialist team to see what they can do. But they can't, because I also got a black bit in my eye that I can't see as well. So I can't read. If I was to basically try and read this book with this eye, I can't read because there's
a
bits.
black part in it.
So I always have to try and use this eye.
So is there not glasses or anything that you can, like different lenses?
He said for me to use glasses, and I said to him, okay, glasses are not going to help because there's still that bit in my eye that I can't see. So he maybe do the tedious task, go to what's it called, Specsavers.
And make them do all...
And I said to Specsavers, I know there's nothing you can do for me, but I'm here for my doctor. I went there, they gave me 4 pair of glasses that I had to pay for, and I said, I want to have a second opinion. Okay, so I went to second opinion. They said, this is the weakest glasses that they gave you. You don't even need glasses, but they gave it to you so that they can make the sale. So I went back to him. I'm like, I don't even need glasses, but they gave me glasses because they wanted to make the sale because these are the weakest. Now that you know glasses don't help, what can you do? And he was about to say, come back in 6 months again. I'm like, no.
That's his favourite line.
Yeah, so that's when he said he's going to refer me to the other specialist team. But
that's crazy.
5 years to get to this point, you know. So I'm like,
that's crazy.
And I couldn't get angry because they said if you get angry, then there's nothing more we can do for you because it's basically you aggravating stuff makes them feel unsafe.
Oh yeah, and then once you've got that mark against you as that kind of patient, it's
so I had to just keep my calm because this time I'm not gonna lie, I felt as if I was gonna do something to him, and.
Oh boy, I've had those, sometimes my imagination is me in my head. I just have some fun in my head sometimes. Yeah. I'm in these appointments and they're just like probably thinking, why is she? I'm not even paying attention because I'm imagining all sorts. Yeah. So, okay, you've been through a lot.
No, it's just that I had to wait 3 hours for this appointment for him to see me 5 minutes and just fob me off. It's just really gets to me.
Crazy. You've been through a lot. How has Sickle cell? We're gonna get on. This is gonna have to be a 2-part series, guys. Trust me, because I'm like, there's too many questions that I need to ask already. You've spoke about you've already mentioned that when you was faced in this situation where you just think there's no point, can't see, in pain, whatever. Your daughter called you, so you have.
I got a text from the mother of my children.
You
about
got a text from the mother of your children.
That's what made me change my mind, basically.
So that gave you a purpose, a reason to live. In terms of your relationships going forward, then, because you didn't find out you had sickle cell until you was well into your 20s, did that, or did you even know if that should have an impact going forward when it came to dating, reproducing, anything like that?
Basically, I didn't. First, I was scared to tell people about my sickle cell status because I just felt as if I don't want anybody to see me as weak or inferior. Of course. And I think I had one bad experience basically where I opened up, and I told someone, and the first thing with her was that I don't want to be looking after anybody. I want someone that's in. Sorry.
Have a drink. Have some more time.
She said, I want someone that's in perfect health, and with you, it's like I'm going to be constantly your carer or something. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not doing that again. So it came to a point where I would not tell partners, but then they will find out that I couldn't do certain things. Like, part of my sickle cell is that I shake violently in my sleep because I can't sleep at night. So I get extra tired, and they asked me, and I just had to tell them that, well, this is symptom of my sickle cell. And then they asked me about there was one thing that I had seen 2 of her. And I'm like, and I must have woke up high or something on my medication. I'm like, oh, you and your twin sister are here. Hi. She's like, huh?
Imagine that though.
Are you crazy? I'm like, I'm not crazy. It's just that, how nice to see both of you. And I was just doing some nonsense, and then when the next day she was like, you was doing some nonsense the other day, what is going on? And then I just told her that my condition, the thing with my eye, the medication I have, and it was a case where I can tell that she felt away But I just thought, you know what, there's no point in hiding it anymore. You know, I've got to be honest moving forward. And, you know, and plus I've got a child that has sickle cell as well. So any potential partners, I've got to let them know that, you know, this is the situation. And while with me, I have a slightly different view to people when it comes to sickle cell.
I wanted to ask you that because there's always a debate, and you know, I know a couple who met at the hospital because, you know, we build relationships with each other, we build bonds, we have connections that I understand. That's like, I can relate to all of the things that you've been through. So sometimes I can get that having someone that understands it's different, isn't it? They have a child together. So I know that there are mixed views of this, and I wanted to ask your opinion because obviously your daughter has sickle cell. Was it something you thought about beforehand, or it just, you know, love is love, it is what it is?
I think my main thing was basically when the doctors, when my firstborn, Amari, was born, they said that automatically that we should have an abortion, that it's a high chance I will have sickle cell. We recommend that you abort this baby now. When Amari was born, he didn't have it. So
your child's mom doesn't have sickle cell?
She has the trait.
She has a trait, okay.
But yeah, so my firstborn was born, he didn't have anything. My secondborn, basically it was a case of, she found out at birth. And it was a very, I'm of the opinion that I'm not going to tell anybody that they can't date anybody.
Of course.
But I'm on the opinion that if there is a slight chance, make sure you have everything in place. That, you know, in case it happens, make sure you have the specialists, you have the doctors, they have regular checks and everything. And I just felt, from my own personal experience, my daughter, she's had bad sickle cell crisis episodes, but I can count them probably about 5 times in her whole life, and she's 11 now. And I say that we can't basically typecast sickle cell as one particular thing experience. There's gonna be people that have different experiences with sickle cell. So I can't tell people you can't get with that person because their child's gonna be internally suffering. I know for a fact my child's not internally suffering. And through my experience with sickle cell, even though I go through situations, I'm perfectly able to handle myself. So what I'll say to people, that I'm not going to say you can or you can't date anybody, but what I'll say to you is that you have to be proper advocates, because if it comes to the point that you do get to someone that has trait, like for example, I'm an advocate that if 2 trait people decide to get together, I'm not going to stigmatize that or say you can't do that. I'm of the opinion that you need to make sure that you have family planning, you have the correct things in place just in case your child has sickle cell. You got to be aware of the possibilities and move forward. And I think there's been quite a few family that have reached out to me to say that, well, you know, I've got this trait, my family's saying no, my friends are saying no, they're saying that I'm selfish for continuing with him, even though my kids, even though our first child doesn't have sickle cell, it was just a constant getting beaten down. And I'm like, right, this is what I say, okay? It's entirely up to you, but are you able to look after a child that has sickle cell?
That's the thing. So they have to know for starters, know what it is, know what the risks are, know what could potentially happen, and then just be prepared, basically.
Yes, and I said to them, because are you able to go to constant hospital appointments? Are you able to see your child having a blood transfusion at her sickest, where she can't move, she's in pain, screaming? If you're able to tolerate that, if it is a possibility that they have sickle cell, then but fair enough. But if you can't do that, then there's no point. So I rate your openness with it, and I think that, you know, there are people out there that, you know, choose to do that, and it's good that they may have someone that they can come to, speak to, in their corner or whatever. How do you think that you having sickle cell and also your daughter having sickle cell, that, you know, because you've been through what you've been through, you're able to support her in a way that, and understand what she's going through in a different way that almost is positive, it helps her? I think with my daughter, as in, I see myself in my daughter, basically, because I know the fact that I know she's in pain before she's in pain. Because with her, she tends to try and cover it up, that I used to do when I first
I
found out.
think we all got our ways of trying to...
So with her, it's like, because she doesn't want to miss out on anything.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to school, playing, you know, football, athletics and everything, she tried to put on a brave face. And I say to her that you're not missing out on anything if you're prolonging your life, basically. So you could do all these things and have a shorter span and then make your sickle cell crisis worse, or you could rest now to join in later.
Yeah.
So I make her aware that you're not missing anything by just taking the rest that you need. Even the professional athletes have off days. Like, you know, Ronaldo or whatever, they have times where they need to take rest. And you need to, your body's telling you to rest. So, and I feel as if, because it's coming from me and not her mum or other people that don't have sickle cell, she's like, you know what?
She'll listen. That's what I mean. So because it's not like you're just saying it, because, you know, someone else that don't know telling me, calm down, have a rest, da, da, da. I'm like, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know what it feels like. But from someone who's been through it, you can almost like communicate it in a way where it's like, because I know you've been through it, it kind of makes sense.
And I think it's because with her, as in she's now empowered by it. But for example, before I used to talk to her, because I remember, I think when she was about 3 or 4, she was embarrassed of telling people, or, you know, I don't want to tell people because I'm embarrassed. Now it's like, I have a sickle cell crisis, I need to rest, I can't do this. Or the teachers will speak to her and then she's the first to talk about sickle cell in a class. That's like, I have sickle cell, this is what happens, my blood cells are this, da, da, da. And I'm like, okay, that's great. So
she's actually just like a mini advocate, vocal, and
whenever I do my events, you know, she's been to my blood drive, she's been to some of my events. She came to one of the NHS events and she started speaking, and then at the end she's like, thank you for coming to give blood. One of you guys must have saved my life, blah, blah, blah. And she got a standing ovation. So these are the things that I want for her, but it's the fact that I'm able to show her not just me being okay 100% of the time. She sees me when I'm sick. She sees me when I can't wake up. And I'm like, it's fine. As in, these are things that could affect you. I don't want you to feel guilty to say that you're a burden. It's about letting people know that when you're fine, when you're not fine. But however, I don't ever want you to, you know, pretend that you're fine. Yeah. Because that's going to do you more harm than good. So with her, she's learning now. As in, she has her days where she just wants to do stuff anyway. I know, and it's, you know, it's going to get to that point, especially teenage years, when it's just like, not even you can tell me, even though you've been there. But I guess it's one of those ones, everyone, like, you have to go through the period of learning yourself and understanding your own body and stuff. But you've just created a little mini advocate, which I love. And on the topic of, you know, advocating, you have your charity, Sickle Can. You also mentioned at the beginning that you're part of 2 charities. So talk to me about your charity work, Sickle Can, and, you know, everything that you do in, like, the advocacy world. Okay, with me, I split it into 2 parts, mentoring and advocacy. Basically, like, and support, like, for example, Sickle Can Sickle Cell Foundation, I've got 2. I've got Sickle Can CIC and Sickle Can Sickle Cell Foundation. The CIC is the one where I do stuff within the community and everything. Okay. Sickle Can Sickle Cell Foundation is what I do when it comes to patients, medical side, like people having issues in hospital. I'll go into the hospitals, I'll be an advocate, I'll make sure that I'm like the liaison between the patient and the doctors, basically. And when they send me what my credentials, I say, well, I have my charity registered, here's my charity number, plus I also have sickle cell. But the fact that you don't understand, this is what happens. And then also when it comes to schools as well, because one of my main things is going to schools and actually teaching teachers how to deal with students that have sickle cell. Because what I've noticed is that these students are normally labelled as bad behaviour problems. They're getting excluded because they're having crisis at school, and these teachers, instead of asking them, how can I help, they're assuming that they're having behavioural issues, that they're disruptive, they're angry for no reason. And I say to them, the first thing I say to them is that when I walk in, what's the feeling like when you're getting stabbed? Can you tell me what that feeling's like? They're like, we don't know, we haven't been stabbed. What's the feeling like when someone is, let's just say, put a pin through your body and just scraping like that? What's that feeling like? And they say, well, we don't know. I'm like, well, that's exactly the same feeling as a sickle cell crisis. You know why? Because I have sickle cell myself. And that's when and I'm like, And that's me as an adult telling you. Now imagine if that's a 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old having a crisis at school. Instead of you asking them how they feel and how you can help, you're labeling them, and you're failing your duty of care for these students, and they're taken aback, like, oh, we don't know. So it's the shock factor first. Then I advise them, this is what we can do. This is what you can do. This is what you do. You ask, how can you help? Where is the pain? You know, blah blah blah. The pain levels out of 10, and then you can proceed from there. Because if you meet it with friction, it's going to make things worse. It's going to
make it worse.
So it's just the shock factor. I just feel that the shock factor is it's the most important factor, because if you tell them that, they're like, oh wow, you know.
They don't think about it like that. So you just kind of put that to them.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you go into schools and stuff. So with the community part or the mentorship part, do you have like patients that you mentor? Is there a specific age group that you focus on?
Various ages, probably from 7 to probably adults, basically. So it's a case where they reach out to me via my various platforms, and I do a presentation basically to the school, and then if need be, I can mentor the child as well, basically saying that I understand that you have anger issues based on this and that. How about this is a better way to, you know, basically let yourself be known. Yes, I have a sickle cell crisis. I'm not in the best of moods, but it's making me angry. Blah blah blah. Instead of you just blurting it out, and then say to the teachers that in case there are times that she's unable to regulate herself, this is the reason why. So it's like they meet in the middle, and then they're able to support each other. Because before then it was like this particular girl, she was getting labelled upon labelled upon labelled. She had her rap sheet was like that big at school. She was on her last strike. I'm like, you're gonna have to remove those strikes. Yeah. Because this is something that she can't help because of her condition, something that she's born, and plus you've aggravated the situation by not supporting her in these ways. So they basically had to support her, and I just feel as if these are things that are not actively known. There's not many organisations that do this in regards to bridging the gap, and the government doesn't do anything at all to do this. So I'm privileged enough to do this because some of the times I'm learning from these students as well, because I'm quite older now, so I don't think I'm wise in regards to how they interact, and it kind of refreshes me in my mind, saying that, you know what, I can't be too different from them in regards to approachability and basically how I don't know, react or how I see them. And I feel as if you're out of touch, then you can't reach them. I'm not saying that I'm going to pretend to be this 50
but
person.
I get you. Like, you have to, it's all about keeping in touch with that generation, what's working for you, what's working for them, for us to be able to still do what we're doing. And I guess, you know, be able to, for them to relate to us as well. I get that. I feel like I learn from everyone that I speak to. Like, there's always learning. There's always something that, you know, something's happened and we haven't thought about it in that way. And
the youngers are always the ones that are just the realists, as in they're the realists.
They will tell you.
Yes, as in.
They don't care.
I remember I was in a liaison meeting with one of the teachers, and the student just said it blatant racism. They don't help me because it's racism. If it was a white students, then they'll be quick to say it. But because I'm a black student that they see as aggressive, and I'm in pain, they don't see me as vulnerable. I was like, wow. Okay.
And we'll be there trying to like pretty it up, like, so, you know, the prejudices and the no, like, just call it out for what it is.
I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yes.
You know, if it smells like it, if it acts like it.
Then I have to tell her to, you know what, can you leave the room for a bit? Let me just speak to them, and then you can come back in. And it's like,
but it's already said what needs to be said anyway.
And I'm like,
I get that.
Even though she's very flagrant with her honesty, it has an element of truth to it. Because if this was a different child, would you have the same stereotypes, the views? So like I said, shock value all areas works, especially if it's brutal honesty. And I say to them that the fact that she's this angry means that you haven't supported her for quite a long time.
A long time, so because it would have taken, you know, a lot for her to get to that point.
So it's like I said, it's brutal honesty works a long way when it comes to these things.
On that topic, do you think that, you know, some of the issues that we face and the difficulties that we have kind of just, you know, in society living with sickle cell, that it is to do with racism? Do you think that there's
99%. And I'll tell you why it's 99%. Because I see, there's even though sickle cell doesn't support or doesn't affect only black people, I see that when a non-black person talks about sickle cell, they're listened to the point where people clamour to support. And for me, it's like everybody should be having that same level of support. So I'm like, if they have the same condition as me, but yeah, you get the wow factor. Oh my goodness, you got sickle cell. Oh my days, as in, it's just a shock value. And I'm like, that should be the same for everybody. So I do, and plus I feel as if there hasn't been any advancements in medication for sickle cell disease. And that tells you something compared to other conditions that they've got 1,000 drugs or something to treat you. But with sickle cell, there's hardly any improvements. And the whole aspect of hydroxycarbamide or urea, that was found by accident. It was naturally a cancer drug.
Yeah.
So it's like...
That weren't even for us.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, there could be more to be done, but because it's not seen as hip, it's not the go-to when it comes to first advancements in sickle cell. And I understand there's new treatments now, but it's like, it's been over 100 years now. And yet we're only getting clamour treatments compared to other conditions. So I do feel as if there's a lot element when it comes to not just the treatment, but how treatments and medication, how we're treated as individuals. Because I see the difference when it comes to going to different wards and seeing the different patients and seeing, like, I've been to a sickle cell ward and I've been to other wards, and I can see the difference, how they're treated. And I think the go-to thing is that most patients are seen as drug abusers and drug seekers, especially, you're just there for the medication. And then when I say to them that, that sickle cell patients take the same level of pain medication as someone that has been shot, that's been stabbed. That's the equivalent. So for you to say that drug seekers are giving them paracetamol, you want to give it to someone that's just been, it's not the same. So, like I said, yes, basically.
Yes.
Yes, there is. I think racism plays a huge part. There is an improvement since, let's just say, 10, 20 years ago. But it's not the improvement that is needed to be done at this moment in time.
On that same topic then, because I know that you work with the NHSBT, and there have been reports and articles and everything that have, said that they have been accused of being bullies, being a racist system. How did you feel? Because, the NHSBT is a I don't even know the company. They're people that I've worked with too. And, we've been campaigning to try and encourage more black people to donate blood. So how did you feel when that came out? And how did you... It's tapping away.
This is a... I don't know whether to give the PC answer or the right answer, because I still want to work with the NHS. But I want to be truthful.
But me too.
Okay,
me too. What? So
I want to be truthful.
I want the honest answer, and an answer that perhaps they could take something from and learn from.
I want to be honest regardless. At the end of the day, I can only tell my truth.
The thing is, if they don't want to work with us, we'll take you to the streets. No, but seriously, they can't boycott the thing.
I think it would be telling if they don't work with us based on us telling the truth.
Well, exactly. So they can't. At the end of the day, the NHSBT can't just not work with us because of us sharing what we feel. Because at the end of the day, we are helping them.
Yeah.
To, with this call to action, we've been in positions where we've needed blood before. So I just want your honest answer, however that is and whatever that looks.
I think you need to break into different elements. Like, for example, I feel as if when it comes to designing campaigns for black people to give blood, we're hardly ever in the process, the design process. So it's like they're making decisions and making programs that are not really being designed by black people. So how can you reach out to the relevant people? And the issue that I've got here is that they've got sickle cell patients that are black, basically. Who else to reach out to the public than the people being affected that look like the population? So I even said to them that there's no reason why you've got this plethora of sickle cell patients that's worked for you for years, that they don't have any leeway in regards to how you design campaigns, because right now it's not working. And two, the only way it can work is if you have us in these different areas, because you're sending me, Chanel, Vashti, to these different places, and we're not reading from your script. We're talking from our own experiences.
Your own, yeah.
So if you can trust us to talk from our own experiences, then why can't we be part of the design process to reach the people that are needed? And I keep saying to them that these executives, they don't represent the population that you need. So instead of you leaning towards them people, why don't you lean towards the people that are affected by sickle cell that can help the process? Because 10, 15 years it's not working. As in, what, 1%, 3%? It's
not going up quick. For the amount of us that there are, for the amount of people living with sickle cell that are vocal, that would support them and advocate, the numbers are not reflecting.
And I keep saying to them that any one of us could die any minute now. Yeah. So for you to not trust us in the process, like, yes, we may say use terminology that you might not like, but this terminology is going to bring people to give blood. Like, I've gone to different presentations, and I've just flipped the script and I said, at any moment now, I could die, and if it takes 10 minutes of your time to save a life of someone that looks like you, then it's worth that. It's not no conspiracy theory. It's not no organ harvency. This is real life situations where there are sickle cell patients needing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 units of blood for blood transfusion, and if they don't get the right type of blood, they get a similar type of blood that doesn't match them, but that brings other complications like, the blood not being compatible, producing antibodies, antigens, that basically make it harder to receive blood transfusion in the future. So I feel as if it's our responsibility as a community, if we say we're pro-black, to stand up and show up. And I feel as if these messages resonate more than just, something that you read from a teleprompter or a script and just say, well, you know what, blah, 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 blah. 5 minutes of your time can save 3 lives. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, it's not hitting the same.
It's not. And I feel there's that element. And there's the element that we're working our butts off to deliver these targets. We're hitting these targets. But the moment that we get sick or feel uncomfortable, we're not being taken care of, and we're supposed to be working for the NHS. And there's been times where it's been winter, and we're saying that we're having sickle cell crisis episodes, and it's like there's certain things that are not being catered for. So I just feel as if if it was other people, they're working for them, it wouldn't be so much friction in regards to the level of support given, and also the level of influence that we can basically have on the design process. Like I've seen recent ones where, can I say it? I might as well say it. Like, for example, the Michael Dapper campaign.
Okay, talk things.
The Michael Dapper campaign. He turned it into a joke. And for me, blood transfusion is not a joke. As in, there was no real life of him in the blood donor center giving blood. It was just him, taxi driver, blah blah blah, joking about giving blood. For me, that doesn't slap. That's not a reality of what blood transfusion does. I'm not saying that he can't make it maybe a joke, have elements of jokes in it, but make it realism, and just have a point of, you know what, this is the reason why I give blood. Even though I'm afraid of needles, I'm giving blood anyway because it's important. And I just felt as if these jokey things, if it came from a black person, they would know not to run certain campaigns like that, because it doesn't bring the realism into blood transfusion. And for me, I was a bit offended by that, because I'm like, that's not going to motivate me to give blood if he's joking about it. So there's certain things. It's
just like I can do it if you're cool.
As in they're just getting an influence for the sake of getting an influencer.
They're not getting them to create something that's actually going to make a difference.
Exactly, and I feel as if it's a point where they're too afraid of getting real, because they'll feel as if it'll offend people or turn people off. But I'm like, it's not going to, because if you put a point of realism into it, then that's going to motivate people to give blood more.
I think they are afraid to offend people though, because isn't that the whole reason why they've got like a separate? They had a whole separate like person and managing and like team just for recruiting black donors. So only that team can do, and even that team still has to go back to everyone to try and get answers or approval for things, which always turns out to be no. So it's like,
basically, like, for example, you having you to do your blood transfusion, you have to go jump through hoops and leaps, and you know, for you to get that. And I feel as if it's not just you, it's other.
There's lots of us. There's so many people that I've spoken to that have been like, I want to do this, I want to do this. Why can't they?
Yeah, and I feel as if it's just too many loopholes, basically. And I said to them, if you're struggling with this load, then why don't you get people within that department that can help facilitate? And I'm like, I'm used to doing blood drive events. I can help these people. You know, I can help smooth the process. I know who to talk to. I know I know some of the higher ups that arranges it. But
and that's my thing as well. Like, I think they keep it separate. So you were part of the team that have, you know, had the most black people that donated blood in one session. You, Vashti, Chanel, Emmanuel, like all of you guys. To me, if you've got a blueprint and it works, why are we not duplicating that everywhere? So what do you think needs to change then? Or what is it? Because it's like, okay, these people are still in control of everything. What is it that keeps you supporting for them, working for them, driving people? Like, is it hope? Is it what is
I think there's two answers to that question. I think the first part one of that question is basically trusting and valuing the people that are working with you. And I feel as if you don't give them value, then they're gonna feel disillusioned about the whole organization. And two is basically not being afraid to be outside the box, because if you have a situation where you want to hit a certain level of targets, you need to be realistic, saying that, you know, what we're doing is not working. Let's now get these people that are in the field, that are deep into it, that are affected by the condition, to then tell their real life stories. And I feel as if the part of the reason why we're not hitting the numbers because people don't know that there are advocates working with NHS recruiting. There's nothing on the website saying this is the advocate in your area. If you want to give blood, reach out to that person. Or this is your community leader in your area. Yeah, for any information about blood donation, Wandsworth, Southwark, you know, probably Streatham, whatever. These are your people to contact, and they don't have that. It's a case of calling NHS. Oh, I want to book a blood drive. Blah blah blah. Where? Well, why don't you book? You know, why don't you all come in at this some certain time? But that's not the same.
It's not the same thing.
That's not the same because
we do things different.
Because if you bring 10 people to a blood drive, it's not the same as actually creating your own blood drive. Because bringing 10 people, it's like they're gonna face some kind of scrutiny. Because if you have a huge amount of black people waiting to give blood and then you're not giving them attention, it's like, what the hell? And then they're there with a standard blood drive where it's like a mortuary. It's like, it's not welcoming.
It's not.
So I just feel as if there's so many areas that they can improve, but the first point of protocol is the people to reach out to give blood, and they don't have that at this moment in time. So it's just, I don't know, unless they change their mentality in regards to the whole processing. The first point of contact, it's not going to work, and that's my view on that.
Thanks. Well, I think there's a lot of advice I can take from that. Before we wrap up, I have to ask you one more question.
Okay.
I ask this to every male that comes on. Sure. Have you ever had? I don't even know how to describe it. Have you ever been affected by priapism?
Oh dear. All right.
I need snappy answers.
Okay, yes.
Okay, yes is the first answer.
Yes, I had.
Okay. Can you explain what it is and what helps, or what advice would you give to a male?
Do you want me to tell you about my story first? Or should I just
how quick is it?
Okay.
You want 3 parts?
Okay. I'm personally affected by priapism, basically, as in to the point where I've woken up and I've strained ligaments, basically. I had to go to hospital. And they've had to basically surgery, and then. When
you say surgery, like we need the nitty gritty. So for those of you that don't know, priapism is a sickle cell crisis that occurs in the penis, and it's like a very painful erection
that lasts for hours.
It's not one that you want.
Well.
Okay. No, because
most
of the time, because some people have shared their advice and what works for them, and for me it was surprising because I don't know. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Elaborate.
For example, with priapism, as in with me, I'm able to manage mine better than I did before, because Before I used to be in so much pain, but now it's like a case where sweets help a lot. Eating sweets.
The sugar from the sweets, or just okay.
Yeah, it's sugar from sweets. Basically, walking around, as in walking around, blood circulation, or maybe putting your leg on 2 pillows to get the blood flow.
So it's all to do with blood flow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Naproxen always works for me. Basically, it's a anti-inflammatory, basically.
Okay.
Which then helps the blood flow. Other stuff as well that maybe I can't say on this as well.
Well, someone left a comment under one of the interviews that I'd done where I've asked about it, and it was an interview that I did with Adam. Adam said that he hadn't experienced it like in its entirety, so he couldn't share a lot. But someone in the comments said that sex helps them. Yeah,
it does.
Okay.
Definitely. Sex.
So basically, any like physical exercise that will get the circulation going.
Yes, that definitely helps. But I feel as if a lot of people think don't take it seriously. As in, if it happens over a prolonged period of time, it can cause impotence. Okay. Basically, it could not function. So I say to people, if it's longer than 3 hours, seek medical attention.
Definitely.
As in, because it's not. As a man, it's like you feel as if, you know what, I've got this, you know, I can last longer, blah blah blah. There's been times where I'm like, you know what, it's beneficial for me because I can last longer. But there's other times where you gotta take it seriously. As in, manlyhood is not something to take lightly at all. And this whole priapism issue, I know there's so many people that are affected by that, don't speak about it because they're embarrassed about it.
And then because people don't speak, the younger generation of males that are coming up don't know what, they don't know what to do, they don't know how to act.
And I would say the sooner the better, because the alternative is not nice at all.
Which is the surgery that you mentioned.
I've had surgery, but before then it's the needle. Okay. When you go to hospital, if you're in accident emergency with priapism, it's not a good sign because they go put a needle to drain the blood out, and that thing it's huge and it's very painful. Okay. So with me, I think I had that mine even worse because I slept with it basically, and I strained ligaments, and then they had to basically surgery, and it was just another palaver there. Okay. So
you've heard it from someone who's experienced it.
Yes,
not
nice.
Something to joke with.
Not at all. But there has some certain benefits.
Yeah. I just think it's good. It's good that you've been open enough to share because, like I said, I talk about everything. I think I talk about near enough everything. I'm such an open book. But this is one thing that I'm not able to give advice on, and I actually didn't know about. So I'm learning about as well, because what I thought it was, and I would say as well what healthcare professionals tell you about it versus what people who have had it seems to be it just seems a bit blurred lines.
Yeah.
Don't do this, don't do that. It's serious. It's and then you've got people that say, well, this helps, you can. But then if it takes too long, then you need.
I personally with my priapism, I've had a mixed views, mixed experience of priapism, but I tend to think that. I don't know, I see positives from me having priapism to the point where it's helped me in certain aspects but I know that if it goes beyond a certain point, then I have to do something about it. So
that's fair enough. Yeah, and you have kids, so if it's something that can make you impotent and you haven't had kids yet, then that's also something to consider.
Definitely.
What would you say to people that are living with sickle cell, trying to navigate this life, like one piece of advice?
The motto, basically, our motto, break the silence, speak up, sickle can. And I feel as if when it comes to sickle cell, the most powerful thing that you have at the moment is your voice. So always speak about your experiences. And I feel as if you never know what you can inspire, who you can inspire, and how many people you can inspire by speaking about your condition. Like when I first created the charity, put my own story, I had people from Australia, Nigeria, China, reaching out to me. So your story is inspirational because it's unique to you, and you don't know who you could be reaching out to. So that's the first point. Speak out. Never be ashamed to tell your truth, because your truth is your story and it's you. So I say speak out, tell your truth, and never ever put anybody before yourself and sickle cell, because if you're not there, they can't feel your pain. They're not going to be in hospital for taking the pain from you. So never make accommodations for anybody at all when it comes to your illness and how you manage sickle cell.
I love that. I love it. Thank you. I'm getting that last one. Yeah, I needed to hear that today of all days.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, do you have any questions for me?
How are you so positive? As in, whenever I see you, you're always smiling. You're always this and that. I'm like, always as in you got a smile on your face. Like I've seen your the stuff that you do online. I'm like, this girl is so positive. As in, I don't think I've seen you had a bad day. As in you complaining or anything like that. I've always seen you like happy-go-lucky, and the whole thing that you told me at the sickle cell gala that you had about how your optimism is that you appreciate the days that you have now, and you don't worry about what can happen in the future. So, what made you have that philosophy?
I think, first of all, let me just say one thing, which is I don't share everything, and I can admit that I am guilty of that.
Okay.
I don't have evidence myself of me being sick, me being in hospital. I've had like 2 hip surgeries. I don't even think there's a picture that exists of me with crutches. I'd probably have to like really search hard to find that. I don't like to remember those moments.
Okay.
And perhaps that's the reason why I can always stay positive, because sometimes it's like, well, you know, it happened and then it gets forgotten about. I wouldn't even say that it's the best thing, because I think, you know, around kind of 2019, I really kind of found myself in like a real mental state where, you know, it's like, because I have this positive mentality and I'll get sick and I'll get through it. I always just tell myself, okay, I can manage it. Whatever I'm given, I can handle. And then once I get better, I'm like, okay, it's fine. We'll move on. Like, let's keep going. Let's keep going. We survived. Let's keep going. But I use the analogy of like, I just brush things under the carpet.
Yeah.
And then I think like 2019, the carpet got full. There was no more space. And I would just be, like, I'd be talking to you and I'd just be crying. I'd just be, like, I wanted to keep myself to myself. I wasn't doing as much, like, socially. And at that time, it was more difficult because I was working at a charity. I was a mentor to other people living with sickle cell. So it's like everything in my life was sickle cell. And I was going through my own, like, diagnosis and complications. And it was a lot. But that philosophy of, you know, what's happened has happened. I have today, and whatever tomorrow will bring, it does. I feel like I just very much live for the moment.
Okay.
Because I've been rock bottom. I don't think that I can get any, like, the worst that I can get now is death. And I think I've been through so much that I'm like, if I was to die, I'm content, because I've just, I don't know, like, I fought a good fight. I actually feel like I fought a good fight. I've been to the gutters. I made it back up. So whatever happens from here on, I'm just...
Okay.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's so much energy to be sad. On the days that I am in pain, which I still have those days, I just let it happen. If I'm not well, then I'm just like, well, it's a sick day. We're going to do whatever we've got to do to be well. We're going to chill. We're going to be in it. I don't let myself feel guilty anymore. I don't feel angry at myself for, like, you know, F it, like, sickle cell's got me again. I just think, you know what, you can have a go, because I've been, you know what I mean, I've been so busy. I probably need a rest, and I'll let you shine your little light. I don't know, it's just, it pours more into me to be happy. And I think I just want to give more of that, if I can, whatever I can, while I've got, with whatever time I've got left. So
Great philosophy.
That's it.
Okay.
But I do have bad days. I do have down days. I just don't show you guys, because I don't then want to remember it.
Okay, got you.
It's the honest truth. So, Kenny, it's been so real.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm going to, whatever I have next, I'm going to have you on again, because I still have more questions, but we have to wrap up. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It's been amazing.
Thank you.
See you later, guys.